Alex Caruso, not to be confused with the NBA player, although you might, I actually don't know what his height is, but you might be just as tall, if not taller, and probably mistaken for an NBA player at time. The host of Fresh Fantasy, you've been kind of everywhere, despite, your young age. You've started to get yourself into the industry a little bit. Football guys, 33rd team, you're kind of all over the place, and wanted to bring you onto the channel to get you a little bit more FaceTime here with the beautiful people of Big Dog Nation. So I thought we'd rock an underdog draft together. We're picking separately. I'm at the 106. You're at the 102. So you will be picking very soon. But I just wanted to intro you to the channel. I want to say what's up. I know you had a long day of classes and podcasting and stuff. But what's going on, man? Thank you for joining me.
Oh, man, it's so great to be here. Excited to talk with you, Big Dog Nation. Never too early to be doing underdog drafts, even if it's a couple days before the actual NFL draft at this point. But this is the best time of year. I cannot wait to keep talking with this. And every week now, we're just gaining more momentum towards getting closer to football season. So I cannot wait for all the talk.
Are you a Patriots fan? You're up in Boston, right?
Yeah. I was born right around here, so I have been a Patriots fan my whole life, and it's gonna be some tough times because I was born I think a couple years right before we won our first championship, so it's gonna be some tough years. But I met Mac Jones last year. He came and spoke at my school, and really cool guy. But it's not looking too great for us.
What about Mac Jones as the player? You think he's long for the Patriots or what?
It's too early to say. I think that he could be, but I don't think that he's ever gonna help us do anything more than barely make the Super Bowl at this point. I'm not make the Super Bowl, barely make the playoffs. I think that
I like how that's like the Patriots mindset right there. He might help us make the Super Bowl, but that's not good. If he ain't winning 4 of them for us, and we don't want him.
It's going to be that every beat reporter, if we make the playoffs, is going to be we're going to be 8-8 or 8-9 or 10-7, and it's going to be oh well, Belichick's been here before. Maybe the Patriots create some magic, and then we just get blown out in the first round by the Bills. I feel that's going to be our storyline for the next 5 years.
Yeah, you guys seem very, very mid right now. But speaking of Josh Allen, the Bills, and these other quarterbacks, you were at the 102. This is a super flex league. Those are the only leagues that are available right now on Underdog, I believe. I'm sure they'll be opening up some one quarterback leagues after the draft. So you know that the QBs are extremely valuable in this format. You grabbed Josh Allen at the 102. Do you have a preference between Allen and Mahomes this year in fantasy?
I honestly would probably go with Patrick Mahomes. I think that he's just the safest. I think he's a little bit safer with his body than Josh Allen is. I think them adding Damian Harris could take away a couple of those rushing touchdowns that we're used to seeing from Josh Allen. And I think Patrick Mahomes, so we just saw what he did last year without Tyreek Hill. I don't expect anything to change at this point. I'm still all in on going Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, but it's so tough to pick between the two. Just depends on what side of the bed you wake up on, really.
Yeah, I feel that. It's one of those things that I feel will be a really highly debated topic that we're just wasting our time debating. It's just if you got Josh Allen or Mahomes, just ride the wave and enjoy it. I'm sitting here at the 207. Could have grabbed another quarterback. I guess you have a bunch of these kind of boring floor quarterbacks and Cousins, Rodgers, Geno, whoever, Derek Carr. I went with Cooper Kupp. I feel this kind of happened last year where we went into the season and Kupp ended up being a little bit devalued because we didn't know Stafford's injury. We don't know Cooper Kupp coming off of his injury this year. Kind of feel he's just going to be devalued again. I don't have a lot of Kupp shares right now on my underdog teams, but he's someone that I think I'm going to target if he continues to drop down, mid-second, late second. You went with Stephon Diggs. I mean, all these guys are kind of in the elite tier. It's almost a moot point, just like the quarterbacks.
Yep. Yeah. And that's what we're going for at this point. Just trying to find guys that are in the elite tier. Don't mess up the draft rounds early. I think later on we'll probably get into it. Just trying to hammer for upside because you're playing for first place, not last place. First place or last place. But I think early on, just try to hammer the guys that are safe and that are going to be really productive.
Yeah. We had someone say, I love how the Packers moved ahead of New England to steal their wide receiver pick. As a Pats fan, were you hoping that JSN fell to you there at 15? It kind of does feel like the Packers swap picks so they can get 13 and give Jordan Love another weapon there.
Yeah, I think that they absolutely are doing that. I think that JSN's probably the best prospect that we've seen. He's this year's by far the best wide receiver prospect. I don't think it's particularly close. So I would love to have him end up on the Patriots, but I think regardless where he goes, he's an automatic future top 5 dynasty receiver.
Yeah, I mean It almost feels like because he's so head over heels, so much of a better prospect than everybody else in the class this year that uh, every team loves him. Every fantasy
Yep.
guy starts to love him now, and it's hard not to like him. Like his game feels like it's the most safe of the prospects in this year's class, and because of that, it continuously like separates him more and more by the day. So now it's like, oh, he's getting picked at 13. It's like, does he even drop to Green Bay at 13? Does Tennessee take him at 11? Does Houston take him at 12? Does Amon-Ra fall to me at the 3-6 here? Yes, he does. I'm taking Amon-Ra over Devontae Adams, which is crazy sauce, but fucking Jameson Williams out now for 6 games. Like Amon-Ra, I feel like could be very much be the wide receiver 1 in fantasy at the end of 6 weeks.
Wow. At the end of 6 weeks. What do you think he could get there at the end of the year? Top 3? Maybe top 1?
I don't think he can get to top 1. I feel like I think in order to be the number 1, you need to have a level of explosiveness to your game where you're ripping off like 40-yard catches semi-consistently, like Devontae Adams. Even though Devontae Adams is not like a speed freak or someone that you consider necessarily like a deep threat, he still consistently brings in those like 35-yard corner, tightrope, like hash mark type catches. And Amon-Ra just feels like it's death by 1,000 cuts, but like Tyreek Hill will get there. Devontae Adams will get there. You need, I think, a deeper type of player in order to really like hit the ceiling of being a wide receiver 1 overall.
Yeah, and the touchdown upside, just like, is it there? Like he doesn't fit that, I mean, you can say that he doesn't fit it, but Cooper Kupp has done it, like leading the NFL in touchdowns. So who knows? That's gonna be really interesting to see.
I was looking at like goal line carries this morning, just like inside the 5-yard line carries, and Jamal Williams led the league by far. He had 37 carries inside the 5-yard line. The next closest player was at like 19. It was insane. And I'm thinking like, all right, maybe there is a little bit more touchdown upside than we're giving credit for. You know what I mean? Like if that swings a little bit over to the passing game, like maybe there could be something there. All right, what do we got here?
That's a tough pick here. No, I think there definitely could be some more upside, especially with the fact that like not only did he have that many goal line carries, but even Jamal Williams touchdowns. I think it was like 14 of his 19 touchdowns were within 2 yards. I mean, that just like does not happen. But makes me wonder with someone like David Montgomery, like if there's a chance that he sees all those goal line carries, or if they're going to give more to Swift if he can stay healthy. Because I think that those guys are like a similar size style back, where I think that Jamal Williams is more of like the bruiser stereotypically, and Swift could actually turn that into some more goal line carries if he's healthy.
Yeah, I kind of feel like they're just telling us what Swift is to them at this point. Like you go out and sign one of the top backs in free agency. Not that they're not going to use Swift, but he feels like a pretty secure, like 10 to 14 touch guy per week. And I feel like David Montgomery is probably going to start more games. Like if you put me at the over under of 9.5 games of starting for Demon, I feel like he'll probably be the guy there. So it's kind of exciting, I guess. Do you have a lean on which one you'd rather have more
between those two at cost?
Yeah,
I would probably go Swift. I think just because he has more like deep analytically upside. I think he's a little safe. Like he has more of the safety pass catching. It's just like a matter if he stays in the field. Where David Montgomery, I feel like just has to get volume. Where I feel like Swift just has to be healthy to be super productive.
Yeah, I mean, every like underlying statistic is crazy for DeAndre Swift. Like he's still like top 5 in basically every rushing category, every receiving category. It's just like, when is this dude ever going to put it together? It's like year 4, year 5 in the NFL, and you start to wonder because their lifespan is not that long. But Derrick Henry's lifespan is forever. So I took him over here at the 4.7. I feel like Derrick Henry again, just another like 1,600, 1,700 yard season, 13 rushing touchdowns. I'm not worried really about the old age. I don't think anything really showed there. I don't think anything really showed there for him coming down talent-wise last year. I guess it's just a matter of like, are the Titans just so bad that not even Derrick Henry can overcome that?
Yep. But I feel like we ask that question almost every single year now. Like it feels like it's like the Brady thing where like eventually Derrick Henry's going to fall off the cliff, and every single year he continues to be productive. So it's hard to bet against him, but like there has to be a day. But I feel like we've been saying like there has to be a day for like the last 3 or 4 years. But especially with how bad that offense was supposed to be last year, and he was still productive.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it kind of like as a fantasy player, are you one of those dudes who says like I'd rather be out a year early than a year late? It's like what's your risk? What's your risk adversity here?
Yeah, I think for me, with guys like that, I feel like I always aim younger at the running back position, especially because like the history of older running backs has not been very good. Of course, the
Mhm.
Derrick Henry, both physically and fantasy wise, so far has been the outlier of all outliers. But I think I try to just go for the younger guy with more upside. Usually, like go for someone like a Brees Hall instead because he's younger. But clearly, I have been wrong on that with Derrick Henry the last couple of years, and should probably just be drafting him.
Well, you took Jacobs, right? You grabbed
Yep. Yeah.
Jacobs? Oh boy, what did I
Yeah.
do here?
Yeah,
Um,
I took Jacobs and Tony Pollard in back-to-back picks. I think
I
just with the
love that.
usage
I
that
feel
they're
like
going to see
there's like a
upside.
beautiful little value pocket here of
Yep.
of those mid-tier running backs. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, especially after adding Josh Allen, Roger, Stephon Diggs is kind of like my safety blankets up top. And then if Pollard and Jacobs stay healthy, they're probably both like top 5 running backs potentially if Dallas doesn't add anybody, which I doubt. But
Wait, is this? Oh no, that's my team. I was like, yo, your team's really good, and I clicked on it, and I was like, it's actually not that good, and I realized I was looking at my team. Yeah, you got Josh Allen, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Jacobs, Tony Pollard, Stephon Diggs. That's a monster fucking start. I see no holes in that roster. Let's talk a little bit about Aaron Rodgers. Moves over
yeah,
to the Jets. He's got people. I got people walking down the street like fired up over here in New York, just screaming about Aaron Rodgers. You could feel the energy in the city. There's nothing like New York when the sports teams are good, which is very few and far between these days. But the Knicks are hot right now. The Jets get Aaron Rodgers, so Rodgers moves over there, and I guess upgrade for Brees Hall. Hopefully he's back from the ACL tear. We're getting good vibes from his return right now, so I'm definitely still in on him this year. And I think the big winner here is of course Garrett Wilson, who goes crazy his rookie year, one of the best route runners in the NFL, one of the most explosive players. I think this is the year that Garrett Wilson jumps up to that elite tier. I think he's like this time next year we're drafting him in the Stephon Diggs category, like in that realm. Aaron Rodgers, is there any chance that he actually like flops in New York and he's just not that good anymore and we're just like kind of projecting on his prime?
real life, yes, I think there's a chance, but like in fantasy, no. Like even last year, he was still really productive with Christian Watson as his best wide receiver. So I don't see him falling off. Same thing with Garrett Wilson. Like he was the wide receiver 8, I think, on a points per game basis in his games with Mike White and Joe Flacco. And you add in Aaron Rodgers, he's going to be in year 2. I actually think that adding guys like McCole Hardman and Alan Lazard help him because those guys historically they might be pretty good wide receivers. They just don't command targets on an elite level whatsoever. They got rid of Elijah Moore, who I think was a little bit of a threat more than people realize. So I think all signs are pointing out for both of those guys. Aaron Rodgers has been nothing but productive every season of his career. Find a bad season for him in fantasy. You can't.
That's fair. Yeah, exciting time to be a Jets fan, which is just something you could not have said for a long time. We got a question in from Mike Clark. I'm going to assume this is Dynasty. He says C-Mac and Amari Cooper for Garrett Wilson. Thoughts? Now, on the surface, I mean, you're like, this is crazy, right? It feels lopsided. You have the 2 great players for 1 good young player. People obsess about youth and dynasty, and this kind of feels like one of those sides. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I think that it just depends what your team looks like. And that's what a lot of it comes down to. It's not as much player versus player, but like what's your team? Like if you're contending, you better keep CMC and ride him, until the wheels fall off. But, if you're rebuilding, you still think you're a year away. I'd rather be a little bit out on Christian McCaffrey a tiny bit early whenever that day comes and rather just be in on someone like Garrett Wilson that'll be a cornerstone on your team for hopefully like the next 5 years or so.
Yeah, I mean, C-Mac this year and maybe next year might be like the most win now fantasy player like of all time. I just can't imagine letting him go unless you're giving him to a team that badly needs like a player like him to win the championship right now and getting a crazy haul back. So I almost feel like you could probably get more than Garrett Wilson, as crazy as that sounds. But from a team that's like contending, you can get future. Like if you're giving away C-Mac, you're looking for the future, get picks and players. I'm on the clock here. What do we got here? Ooh. Okay. I grabbed 3 QBs and I was kind of kicking myself for letting Mike Williams fade all the way down here because I have Justin Herbert. So I'm gonna ride that stack.
That's a nice pick.
Yeah, so I'm feeling good right now about my wide receivers.
I think the other thing, real quick, just before we move on, like with the C-Mac Garrett Wilson thing, like I think that like as long as that trade is you're getting Garrett Wilson plus, like I'm okay with that if you're rebuilding. Like if you're just getting just Garrett Wilson, don't do it. There's someone that will offer you more in total, but I think it has to be Garrett Wilson plus. It can't just be Garrett Wilson.
Yeah, and like I also don't want to just throw Amari Cooper under the bus here either, because Cooper was kind of pretty damn good last year. 1,160 yards, 78 catches, 9 touchdowns, and I don't know how you feel about Deshaun Watson, and like he looked terrible for the most part last year, but you have to think that with a full offseason, he's going to look a lot better. They've got a good offensive line. They've got good pieces there and like just good weapons overall to have a really productive offense. So Cooper's not, I mean, he's obviously like a veteran and he's a little bit older-ish, but he's not like old to the point where he's probably on his way out. You're probably getting 3 years of wide receiver 2 production here as well. So it's like point per game difference between Wilson and Cooper might not be that enormous, you know? So it's like, yeah, for me, that's C-Mac and Amari Cooper. Obviously, you'll have to look at the teams and stuff, but you could definitely get more.
Yep, 100%. Especially like you said, where Amari Cooper will probably be one of those guys like that just turns to overvalued every year. Like he's like a younger Keenan Allen to me in a way. Where I mean, like every year it just seems like he's undervalued. He's not sexy. People don't love him, but he's going to be productive week in and week out. But Amari Cooper obviously has a lot more variance like week to week than someone like Keenan Allen does.
Yeah, and I wonder like just the Cleveland offense. I wonder if there's going to be less variance this year because you have to think if Deshaun Watson is clicking, they're not going to be the same offense that they've been for the last few years, where it's just like, let's ride Nick Chubb into the ground. Kareem Hunt, not going to be there anymore either. Like, you have to think they put more of an emphasis on the passing game. And they bring in Elijah Moore, but he hasn't proven anything. David Njoku had a little bit of a breakout, but there's a chance that Amari Cooper's back up at 150 targets next year, just because he's like kind of right place, right time with a quarterback who, just a few years ago was considered basically an elite quarterback. So I think we should not undervalue a dude like Amari Cooper in Dynasty.
Yeah, 100%. And again, Jacoby Brissett's cool, but like Deshaun Watson obviously is going to be exactly. He's cool. He's not that cool, but like I think that Amari Cooper ultimately, like you said, with Deshaun Watson, the upside of if Watson is still the same guy that we saw 2 years ago on the field, then Amari Cooper could easily be like a top 10 wide receiver for the second year in a row. And when you can get that for someone like Garrett Wilson, who like will probably finish right in that same range, is just absolutely nuts. But what are you going to go with here? You only got one running back in your team. Are you still going to be hammering, quarterback, wide receivers at tight end time? I mean,
I want to go. I forgot that in the super flex leagues, you don't start 3 wide receivers. You only start 2 of them, and then they have a flex and a super flex. So you don't have to go as in on wide receivers.
Yeah.
Damn, this is usually where I'd go for tight end, but they kind of took a lot of them. I'm going to go Darren Waller here, although Darren Waller, I'm going to be honest, I don't think I would normally have done that unless I started feeling a lot of pressure there. Waller feels like a dude that we're definitely going to be chasing what we saw a few years ago. Like, he hasn't been good in a minute, and now he's moving in situations to where we're just like projecting him to be this beast in the Giants offense, and I'm a little bit worried about it. He could definitely step into a role where he's seen 120 targets, and that's like an auto dub for fantasy tight ends. But I do think there's way more risk with Darren Waller than people are projecting.
Yeah, I feel like there's one of these guys every year, like where like this is not fair because it's a whole different position. But do you remember like the year where Le'Veon Bell and Todd Gurley went to different teams? Like Todd Gurley was on Atlanta, Le'Veon Bell was in the Jets, and we were like, oh my goodness, these guys are such good values. They're going to see all this volume. Like I feel like Darren Waller is similar. Like the last time he was good was 2020. Like this is like the beginning of COVID. That's like the last time that Darren Waller was really good.
Yeah, that's like a rule of mine. It's like it's like if you have to convince yourself to go chase someone's prime from a few years ago and they're already out of their prime, it's like they're not getting back to that form. If they're an older player, if they're a veteran, and we've seen them, like if Darren Waller's 25, probably a different story because you could put a lot of context behind him. But I am a little bit nervous about that. I think it may be in different circumstances. I would have went with David Njoku there, but I was looking at some of these running backs because I think this is another pocket of the draft where you're kind of in a tough spot here because like 3 or 4 running backs went off that probably.
It's really tough. I think I'm gonna have to just go for the home run. Like I said, we talked about just like you got to just go all in with 12-man drafts. I'm gonna just go with the pick of the year. If they don't take a running back and he stays healthy, like he's like the greatest running back of all time with like on a per game basis. So
he really is. Like on a per touch basis, he's actually the best running back ever. That's funny.
Yeah, I probably should have taken Javonte Williams, but you get excited sometimes.
He's a stay away guy this year. I don't think he's even touchable. Not in like the single digit rounds. There hasn't been a single good vibe out of the Javonte Williams camp about his injury. This just feels like J.K. Dobbins all over again. And even that, like, I feel like had a little bit of a better feeling towards like the injury. Like even there were some parts of that camp that was like a little bit optimistic about him. and we're getting none of that from this side. Here I am. You think I'm not going to take Javonte Williams now after I just force everybody not to take him? No, I'm going to go with Jahan Dotson. He's like one of my favorite values in this year. Like just completely forgotten that he's a like a first round rookie pick last year. Had a good year, and I feel like he's kind of due for a breakout. Like he's just going to be on the trajectory that good first round wide receivers tend to go down. But I want to circle back to like this group of running backs here, because we have these different pockets where it's like you have the really good ones, obviously, that go in the first round, and then we get back to like the turn at the 4-5 where you grab Tony Pollard and Josh Jacobs and like Derrick Henry were there. And I'm like, there's such good value at running back there. And then it kind of happens again here at the 8-9 turn where Pacheco was a beast as a rookie. Rachaad White, I don't know what Tampa Bay does in the draft, but there's a path to him being like the 3-down workhorse there in Tampa Bay. Joe Mixon, you took him there. Kind of bad vibes out of camp from Cincy, but if he's going to be there, then he'll probably get a shitload of touches again. Even Cam Akers ended the year last year, 300-yard games. Rashad Penny, ton of upside in that Philly offense. Like this feels like another pocket of like super, super value at the running back position.
Yeah, it totally does. Especially because again, like a lot of these situations, depending how they play out, like these guys could be massive value, especially in these like pre-NFL draft things where like if Philly or Cincinnati doesn't take another running back, like they're set to just go off. I think Joe Mixon to me is like gives me shades of Josh Jacobs last year where no one wants to draft him because it's so not cool to do. But like Samaje Perine's gone, and all of his backups right now have less than 100 combined career touches in a season where Mixon just came off the most targets he's ever seen. Like, why couldn't he be Josh Jacobs next year? Disgruntled running back, final year with the team. They're paying him too much already. So, like, let's run this guy into the ground in one of the best offenses in the NFL.
No, I feel that. I think the hesitation with the dude like Mixon is like, does he stay on the team? I think people are a little bit nervous that he moves off of Cincy, whether he gets cut because of the contract or he gets traded or something. And that's where a dude like Mixon, I feel like, would kind of crumble a little bit, because I don't know if he's good enough to like really create on his own outside of a Joe Burrow led offense. You know, I think that's where the hesitation comes.
No, that's definitely where the hesitation is. But like, I think for me, the thing that like I just feel like that is going so overlooked that people aren't paying attention to is if Samaje Perine got signed to another team for like $3.5 million a year, like why is Joe Mixon still there? They could have given Samaje Perine $4 million a year in a place he's comfortable, and then got rid of Joe Mixon. Like I feel like if they were so willing to get rid of Perine,
that team, like they're about to have to give Burrow fucking 50% of their salary cap. Jamar Chase in a year. T. Higgins, you know, is about to get paid too. So they're in like a great spot, but also a tough spot where I feel like you can't be wasting money on dudes like Samaje Perine, you know.
Yeah, that's completely fair. But again, like, but if they keep mixing, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, where he's going in the draft, I think we're in agreement. Just that if all things play right, like it's a home run pick, but it could also be one of those things that, you know, a week from now they cut him after the draft, and we're saying, okay, like why are we even picking him where he was?
Yeah, cut feels like dramatic. I feel like that gets thrown around a lot in like the fantasy world, how like everyone's just gonna get cut all the time, you know. Like teams don't tend to like cut their good players just for the sake of cutting them. So I don't actually think that happens. But I mean, getting him here the 8th, 9th round is it's crazy value given what he can be.
Well, let's not take him in the single-digit rounds, but it's round 10. I probably have too many running backs, but when Javonte Williams is still there, if he comes back remotely healthy again, we are swinging for fences. Oh, it's gonna be really interesting because I have another pick coming up, and if Alvin Kamara is still there, like
you really are going for it, huh?
I mean, I just probably won't be able to pick another running back for the rest of the draft.
But better hope you have some running backs that play this year.
Yeah, I'm gonna have like the all like 2020 team right here. Like this is like 2 years ago. This would be the greatest team of all time. I'm gonna do it honestly, and I haven't played a build like this before where the running backs are stacked. I probably don't take one the rest of the draft and kind of hammer away everywhere else.
I kind of want like the inverse of who you just took in Kamara. I've been drafting a lot of Jamal Williams in this spot of the draft, not because I like love him and I even think this is a great landing spot or anything, but I just don't see how Kamara plays the full slate, you know. And if Jamal Williams is the starter, like if he gets suspended and Jamal Williams is the starter for 6 games, I think you're getting probably like three-ish, maybe 4 RB1 performances out of Jamal Williams, and I think that like alone by itself is probably worth an 11th round pick here.
Well, would you really take Jamal Williams over someone like Damian Harris, though?
So Damian Harris, I'm going to be honest, man. I think he's a little bit more risky as well. He falls into that Rashad Penny category where like the team didn't really commit that much to him. If I think it's a very small chance, but I think there's a chance that like one of those guys doesn't even make the roster. I think there's a chance that like something tweaks wrong and like they just don't make the 53 for whatever reason. Do I actually think that's going to happen? No, but like the way that they committed to these guys does not say a lot. Like if the Bills went up and grabbed a running back in this draft class, like Damian Harris is pretty much like a dead person. Jamal Williams just got like a real contract from New Orleans. Like that tells me that he's way more of an actual piece in their offense than what Damian Harris or like Rashad Penny's money is so low that, I mean, they risk nothing. Like they have no incentive for him to be on the field other than he better like blow their fucking lights out on the practice field. So like I'll take Jamal Williams over Damian Harris. Yes. Would it surprise me if Harris finished over Jamal Williams at the end of the year? No, but I don't know if I want to draft that way.
Yep. No, that's completely fair. But I just like, I don't know. Maybe I get overexcited about the upside of someone like Damian Harris, but like you're right. Like how often do we see like a running back on another NFL team where they signed him for a low amount of money? They ran him for like 400 touches and then he was never seen again after a 1-year contract. It happens after those seasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the DeMarco Murrays of the world, but we don't ever see guys that, okay, we give him a 1-year deal. We run him, until his knees don't work anymore. And then, see you later, join a new team.
Yeah. So Damian Harris he's an awesome running back too. Like I wish the Falcons signed him. Like he's a running back that a fan of a team. Like he'd become one of my favorite players like really quickly.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Where are you headed right now in the draft now? It seems like we're kind of in opposites right now where you're heavier on quarterback and wide receiver. I'm heavier on running backs right now.
Yeah. Damn, the tight ends are really ugly here as well. I think when in doubt, I typically go with wide receivers, but because you do start the same amount of players in both spots, Mitchell's backup, Foreman's backup, man, there's not a lot of love out here. I do kind of sneaky like taking the Miami running backs here. They've re-signed Mostert and Wilson, and they were both like really successful for them last year. Is there a chance that they draft the running back? Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna grab Mostert here and roll with the Miami backs. Yeah, Elijah Mitchell might have been a smarter play just because I feel like at one point or another he'll probably be the starter for San Francisco somehow, some way, because every Niner running back does it. This is the part of the draft where I just start like panicking. I don't know what the fuck to do, honestly.
Yeah, I guess this is where it gets dicey for sure. I'm like sweating a little bit on my just a couple. There's like one guy in particular here with a couple picks to go that I'm like dying for at this point. But
you have a tight end. Who'd you take at tight end?
I took Kittle.
Just nice. Okay.
Consistent. I think Brock Purdy will be back soon enough that he'll be fine. But all right, I got my guy. Greg Dulcich. I'm excited. I'm excited about him. Is like with all some of the like hidden statistics and advanced metrics and rookie comps and things that he did this year. He got a pretty good target share for a rookie tight end. So
yeah, he had a sneaky good year for a rookie tight end. Most rookie tight ends don't have like any exciting weeks. He had like 3 or 4 of them, I think. Ended up with pretty good stats, and now you have Sean Payton coming over there, so maybe trying to talk myself into Russell Wilson.
He's not going to be an all-star, but when you have Taysom Hill, Jawan Johnson, and Tyler Higbee coming up, I think Irv Smith is another really good one that I like.
I kind of like Irv too. I'm like, what are your like? Have you been doing a lot of draft prep? Like in terms of just like the rookies coming in and stuff?
Yeah, a good amount, but no, I haven't really gotten into like super deep rookies like in this range. You know what I mean?
Do you have like a feel for like the rookie tight ends? Michael Mayer, Dalton Kincaid, Darnell Washington.
I feel like tight ends is probably my worst position in fantasy as a whole. Like every year, especially when it's just such a dart throw. I think the guy that I really like that like I'm going to be probably taking in a lot of my rookie drafts is Sam Laporta of Iowa. Like I feel like they're like a tight end machine every year. We see they're a tight end factory. I think a lot of the things in terms of like the athletic measurables, like what he did as a blocker that could help him see on the field early for teams. Like it might not be a year 1 thing, but I think at least in Dynasty in year 2, I think that Sam Laporta could be really sneaky.
Yeah, dude, I'm a big fan of Laporta as well. He's I think he's my tight end 4 probably after the big 3. But I ask because like Irv Smith goes to Cincy, and I think there's a chance that we see more tight ends go off the board in the first round than wide receivers, because I'm not getting a good feel for like wide receivers going in the first round. You have JSN, and then after that, it's a toss-up. It's like, yeah, maybe Zay Flowers, maybe Quentin Johnson, but I think Michael Mayer goes in the first, Dalton Kincaid goes in the first. There's a chance that Darnell Washington sneaks into the first, but I think like Cincinnati is a big landing spot where even though they grabbed Irv Smith, I could see them adding to that offense. And like, you got to think of the way these teams are made up. It's like, do we want to take like a D tackle or something, or are we trying to match fire with fire? Like, do we need to have more points than KC? Like, how do we do that? By adding to the offense. It's like not a defensive minded league anymore.
No, yeah, it's a war of attrition. You know what I mean? It's because it's like you're like, okay, well, Cincinnati's going to score points anyway. So is this D tackle in the third round at this point? Like, what difference is he going to make against Patrick Mahomes? Like with our defense already, you know, compared to matching fire with an extra not blocking tight end, but an extra receiving tight end beyond like Irv Smith.
Yeah,
one extra outlet for.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Tough spot here, huh? These running backs, are they coming back to bite a little bit?
It's all tough. Yeah, it's terrible. I don't know where my draft went downhill.
Do you start going for like in these pre-drafts at this point, like before the NFL draft? Do you think about any of these rookies, but you're just throwing a dart throw and hoping they get on a good team? You know what I mean? Because there's not many Tyler Algiers and Damian Pierces of the world where they just end up on a team with no running backs.
Yeah, I typically don't do like dart throws on rookies. I'm pretty in tune with like what's going on in the draft world and like following dudes that are actually behind the scenes in it. So I don't mind taking rookies that I feel really confident where they're going to go into the draft, but I don't necessarily like taking shots on dudes where on dudes where like they could go anywhere from like the 3rd to the 6th round, because at that point you're wasting a roster spot when there's probably dudes on the board that will for sure maybe not be great, but will give you production in a few of these weeks. So with those guys, I'm a little bit more out on it. I'd rather just wait until the draft happens, so I feel a little bit more comfortable with it.
Completely agree. This is the interesting part, because it's just the dart throws at running back versus wide receiver. And this is where it makes me question of like, should you be hammering running back earlier, or should you be hammering wide receiver earlier, depending on how deep each position is and like what's reliable, what's not reliable. And that's the beauty of Underdog, I guess.
Yeah, it's like you can't really know until you get the numbers after the season, and by that point it's like irrelevant, because then the next season is going to be different, and we're just out here making a mockery of ourselves.
Is there any player in particular for you that at this point in the draft you're trying to target every time? Like I have a player that I'm hopefully about to take in the next couple of picks that I probably want in like every single Underdog draft in the world at cost right now.
Okay. I've taken a ton of Jaylen Warren. I won't say I've gotten him everywhere, but I love Jaylen Warren. I think he's going to play a really big part in the Steelers' offense. I think he's just so much more explosive than Najee Harris. I have found myself, I think I probably have 100% ownership on Jacoby Myers because he goes at pick 150. I just happen to get Jimmy G on my team as well. Jacoby Myers just got the contract, and like obviously he's the clear 2 there, but there's room to eat behind Devontae Adams because Waller's gone. Renfro like fell off a cliff, so Jacoby Myers is the dude that I've been grabbing basically every single time down here. Nico Collins, that's your boy?
Yeah, that's definitely my boy. I mean, he increased his target share. I mean, his target per route run to like 23% last year. He was one of 9 players with over a 40% end zone target share. He's at a 25% target share without Brandon Cooks. And all he's competing with is Robert Woods, Dalton Schultz, Noah Brown. And I still think there's a chance to take a quarterback.
I think that's like that's what I'm scared of. It's like if they just go with Will Anderson at 2 instead of a QB. I still kind of feel like they're going to go with a quarterback. I still feel like it's a decent chance at a CJ Stroud, and that would make me excited about Nico Collins. But if they don't, it's just going to be a shit show there in Houston.
Yeah, exactly. But I think that's where the price is right now, going for upside. And he's late in the drafts. His price is like they don't take a quarterback, and they're going to roll out like the ghost of Jimmy Clausen or something like that. Like so, but.
No, that's fair. I think there's like a lot of leverage in that. If a guy's getting drafted at where, like, if we're expecting the worst case scenario to come to fruition, then it's probably smart to take him because if they don't come out with a quarterback, he'll probably still be drafted exactly right here.
Well, even last year with their awful quarterback play, like Nico Collins was the wide receiver 52 in points per game. Like, yes, that's not going to like win you your league, but he's going as the wide receiver 70 right now. So like, how is he going to get worse?
Yeah,
but. Are you going to draft another tight end? You know, as we're getting deeper and deeper into the depths of the tight
Yeah,
ends
we're in
that
tight end hell right now.
yeah.
Yeah, I actually don't hate all these tight ends. I think I like Everett, but the Chargers have been linked to an early tight end, so that kind of scares me a little bit. I hate Gesicki. And Cade, I like as a rookie. I don't really even hate Hayden Hurst here because he just got a little bit of a contract, and he's probably going to be one of the top weapons. But I think I'm going to go Everett here and just hope they don't draft somebody.
Do you think this range of tight ends are like low budget horror movies where they're going to excite you for a little bit, and one of them eventually might be interesting, but most of them are just absolutely not even worth your hour and a half of your time?
They're more like low budget indie movies, or I've never heard of them. I don't want to see them. I hope I never have to watch them. I hope they never go into my DVD slot.
Yep. But they're in somebody's DVD slot somewhere.
Yeah. Let's see.
And you have that friend that's swearing that it's a good movie, even though you've never heard of it or seen it. But it's yeah.
That's just fantasy Twitter for you. Yeah.
Exactly.
Shahid. What's your team looking like right now? Are you well rounded?
Yeah, I'm getting a little more well rounded. I still only Nico Collins and Rondo Moore are my third and fourth wide receivers, which is obviously not ideal. But outside of the wide receiver position, where I feel like I can just throw darts for the rest of the draft, like you said, we're only starting two. If this is a 3 wide receiver draft, like a lot of other ones are, I think I'd be a little bit more worried about my team. But with a super flex, 2 wide receivers, I think I have a little bit more confidence.
What about the QBs? You got 2 starters, but then you got Jacoby Brissett as your 3. And I feel like you got to kind of leave these drafts with 4 starters because you need to, at the minimum, to start each week. And then there's obviously buys and there's injuries and stuff. So I'm not confident Jacoby Brissett starts more than 6 games this year. So I think you got to hit the QB slot soon.
Yeah, it's tough because I think that the best QB left right now is Hendon Hooker, and then Sam Darnold, and then we have Tyler Huntley. So
yeah, it's bad. I think I think going with Brady and hoping he makes his return might be your best move right now.
Yeah, seriously. Yeah, I'm going to either go with Brady or going to go with Cam Newton. Like you said the other day, there's not 32 quarterbacks better than him. So, yeah. I might have to just throw a dart on Tim Tebow and hope God is on my side with some of these quarterbacks. Jacoby Brissett starts all 17 games.
Yeah, you're really going back in time. Someone said Gardner Minshew big value. I don't hate that out in Indy. There's an off chance that he ends up being the guy there, but they'll probably draft a QB early. Let's see. 4, 4, 5, 2. Everybody hates Michael Gallup. I've been drafting a lot of him down here.
Do you think there's any upside with Cooks, Lamb there? I mean, Dalton Schultz is gone, which relieves some targets, but
no, is there upside? Probably not. But I also do think he deserves a little bit of they gave him the big contract and then he tore his ACL. And last year he was he went into the year still injured. His knee was still fucked up and he didn't get onto the field until a few weeks into the season. So I'm not going to count last year's stats against him. So the way I'm looking at it is, now he's 2 years removed from the ACL and he was a guy that they really, really believed in giving him that big contract. So I'm here for it in the 16th, 17th round.
Yeah. Again, we're in late rounds, but I think also he's more of a best ball wide receiver than anything. Mm-hmm. I think in a redraft format, I might not be going for Michael Gallup, but in these later rounds, I think there's almost a guarantee that Michael Gallup has at least 1, 2, or 3 or 4, maybe explosive weeks at some point. He's gonna have the biggest Thanksgiving game, be the most added waiver wire target. I'll probably never see him again after that.
He's one of those. He'll be on the waiver wire target list 7 different times this year. Every time he goes 4 for 42, everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, Michael Gallup time is here," and it'll just never happen.
Exactly.
Don't we all, Mike? Don't we all?
What about Marvin Mims? I know this is tougher when you don't know where team he's going to end up on, but Scott Barrett wrote a really, really cool thread on Marvin Mims that he might be analytically the second best wide receiver in this entire class.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I'm the only person I think in the industry that does not like Marvin Mims. I don't think I've heard a negative word about him. When I watched him play, he basically ran 3 routes. It was just a drag across the middle, or he was going deep or stepping back for a screen. And I'm like, yeah, if you're really, really fast, you can obviously excel. And he was in a Lincoln Riley offense, which obviously does not hurt, when you're a speedy type of player that just they scheme you up to get open all the time. I think a lot of his production came by way of like touchdowns as well, which is kind of like a red flag to me. I don't know. I'm not as high on him, but listen, if the NFL drafts him in like the second round, I'm not going to be the one to argue with it. But I'm down to have a hard stance on fuck Marvin Mims, honestly.
Yeah, hey, I don't blame you there. Fuck Marvin Mims.
Fuck him.
I mean, it's probably nice, especially if you look good, because everyone else is so in on him that if you just happen to be the guy that doesn't like Marvin Mims, then you're more of a hero for being right on that.
Yeah. Oh fuck, what's going on here? I panicked. Yeah, don't oof me. Don't oof me. I fucking panicked. All right, you can't come on my channel and oof me. Yeah, that one. I don't even know who else they have on the roster. Maybe Breece Hall suffers a setback, and yeah, nope. All right.
Is Zonovan Knight still there?
Yeah, probably. He's got to be on his rookie contract.
Maybe they'll bring in like Bo Scarborough or some like Darrell Henderson, someone really old that should not be there.
My only hope. Yeah, that was a tough. Well, I was looking at like the rookies. I was like, you have Kareem Hunt, who's not even on a team. And you have Sean Tucker, who's got a heart injury. Like, got no idea where these guys are getting drafted. It's just really bad over here with the running backs.
Yeah. Do I go for an auto oof at quarterback at this point, or do I go for someone like Tom Brady that could play and just kind of go for it?
I think that I think there are some players on the board quarterback wise that like will give you maybe 6 starts this year and they'll be okay.
Yep.
I'm not going to tell you who.
Yeah, I got somebody here.
Okay.
That I think could be interesting, but who knows? At this point, we're going to see Sam Ehlinger, make a couple starts for Indy, and it's just not going to be good. But yeah, it's just tough when you get into the quarterback 44 range.
Mike asked thoughts on Rashad the God Bateman this year, late round Kyle Trask, or is it time for the Bake Show? Thoughts on let's start with Rashad Bateman.
I think Rashad Bateman's interesting, but I think that he's just going to be a letdown. I think he's going to be the guy that fantasy people get hyped for every single year, and then just probably will continue to disappoint. I want to be wrong because I was a huge Rashad Bateman, and maybe I'm just bitter at this point, but I just don't like. There has not been a top 12 Ravens wide receiver in fantasy football since I think it's 93 or something like that. It's been like almost 30 years at this point. So I just until someone proves me wrong, at best you're getting a wide receiver 15 or 16 finish from Bateman.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely way too high of a ceiling. I don't think we're seeing that out of Bateman. We haven't come close to it. The guy can't stay on the field yet. I loved him coming out too. I thought he was one of the purest route runners in that class, probably behind Jefferson only. But I just think it's just where people go to die now. Yeah, the Baltimore Ravens wide receiver group is just not. It's not where you want to be plucking from.
Yeah, exactly. Because you need them to magically start throwing at a top 10 rate per game, and Mark Andrews would have to fly away to a butterfly farm to give him, any shot of doing anything.
Yeah. All right. Let's see. This is one of my second year guys that I really like. Tyquan Thornton. Okay. He's explosive as shit. 4.28 40-yard dash guy. 6'2". He just brings something to the Patriots that they don't have anywhere else. And I think he came into the rookie year on the IR. You just don't break out as a rookie wide receiver, especially in Bill's offense, if you miss the first of all, you miss the last month of the summer and then the month of the season going into it. So I think he had a crazy uphill battle just to get onto the field. And then he became a full-time player basically towards the end of the year. And I think we'll see that be pushed into 2023. So I'm kind of excited about him as an 18th round guy. Yeah,
that's a really good one. I'm able to pick a quarterback here, and I think that this is tough because I think I could go for someone like Colt McCoy here, but I think that Jacoby Brissett is probably going to be starting those first 6 games. Where once Murray gets back, I can't take Colt McCoy. You know what I mean? I don't think that he's going to help me early in the season. I feel like the pick here has to be Malik Willis and hope that they just get sick of Tannehill and they don't draft someone at this point. Because it's not going to be Andy Dalton. It's not going to be Marcus Mariota unless those guys get hurt. It's not going to be Jameis Winston in New Orleans.
Mariota was just the sharpest fucking pickup ever by Philly. It's no one cares about the pickup, but then when Jalen Hurts misses 4 games or something, Mariota can step in and just operate an NFL offense. And it's one that's just so good that he's not going to fail doing that.
Yep. Do you think there's a real chance that Jalen Hurts misses some games the way that he plays and how many rush attempts he gets per game?
Yeah, I mean that's definitely part of the equation. It just feels right. It's one of those things that you just feel. You're like, yeah, Marcus Mariota for sure is just getting on the field this year for no reason.
Yep.
Let's see. He also asked about late round Kyle Trask. Are you? I don't know why, but I don't hate Baker Mayfield. I think Baker Mayfield's going to be the guy there. I think even when you look back last year, like the last game of the season, there's a game or two that nothing mattered whatsoever for the Bucks, and rather than playing Kyle Trask and seeing what they got, they let Blaine Gabbert rip, and I'm like, that is a weird and terrible sign for a dude like Kyle Trask. And I don't know. I think Baker Mayfield's going to start the majority of the games this year, and I feel like he might be okay if they keep Godwin and Evans.
Is there a ceiling where he's like, Walmart Geno Smith, where he ends up as like a mid-tier fantasy quarterback because the weapons around him?
If I had to project him, if he like started the whole year, he'd probably throw like 20 to 22 touchdowns. So like, I don't necessarily know if there's a ceiling for it. I'm sure there'll be games where you're like, oh, they're playing against fucking Atlanta. Like, let me try to fire him up or something. But I don't really see a season long upside for Baker.
Does that give you any hope of going for does that fade away all hope of going for a Mike Evans or Chris Godwin? Like if there's one or two of those guys that you're going to take, like who's it going to be? Because Baker's had a pretty good deep ball completion percentage like every year of his career.
Well, it's interesting that you bring it up as a Walmart Geno Smith because Jordan, what are you doing over here? You have 11 wide receivers, buddy. How about Robert Woods? Like you're a Nico Collins guy, but Robert Woods, I feel like could finish with a sneaky 90 to 100 targets this year.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like we were saying that last year in Tennessee. Like Traylon Burks was hurt for a lot of the year, and I feel like he's still couldn't.
Yeah, he was coming back from the ACL though, and he was.
He had 90 targets last year. I did not know that.
Yeah, the fucking most useless targets of all time. Holy shit! What do you have? Like 400 receiving yards on 90 targets?
Yeah, he had 500. It was ugly.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that's ugly. Oh, but what I was saying was like someone brought it up. I think it was either Tony or Sexy. Someone in the office was saying that like this is the same situation for Seattle last year, where like Geno stinks. You can't touch Lockett or DK Metcalf because it's going to be a dumpster fire. And now it's like maybe Baker, Godwin, and Evans are just like the same exact thing going into this year. So never say never. Never say never. I'll grab my guess. If Mike Evans is going to be like an 8th, 9th round pick, like, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah, I actually agree because I think that they could be really interesting because they're going to get faded, especially in all different formats in redraft or even like auction leagues at this point. So I think that there's some value to be had. But I wouldn't be surprised. Like you said against that Atlanta, like there's going to be a couple weeks where that Tampa Bay offense is going to be like the $1 million winner, where no one wants to play Baker Mayfield and those guys, and they end up having that one game where he throws for like 304 touchdowns. But
yeah, and I think like I don't know, dude. There's a quote from my favorite show, Entourage. It's once a star, always a threat. And I feel like with Baker, he's gotten to the point of like he's in contagion mode where it's like you don't touch him, but it feels like he's gotten to a point of contagion mode where the players around him have never proven anything, right? Like you actually hate the players that you compare to Baker Mayfield or where you draft around him, but Baker Mayfield's like actually been good at the NFL level before. So you want to say to yourself, like, man, can he recapture that accuracy? Can he do it again at some point? And like, even if it's like a month or 2 month streak where Baker becomes the old Baker that we saw his rookie year that set the fucking touchdown record, it's like, I think we're probably longing for that. And it's probably stupid to wish for it, but like he's actually proven something on an NFL field where a dude like Kyle Trask is, I don't even know if he stepped foot on a field yet.
Well, these might be the best receivers he's ever had in his entire cair. Like, has he ever had better weapons? Like, I don't think that version of Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry or DJ Moore and Terrace Marshall. So I think there's something to be said for that. Same way with Geno Smith. In a way, just because Geno Smith never had like those type of weapons and they helped. But again, I'm not saying he's going to be Geno Smith, but like you said, that there's a certain value point, especially in best ball drafts, that they get a little bit interesting.
Let's go, Robert.
Ooh.
Join the team, Bob. But Robert he was also coming off the ACL tear too. So you know what? I want to give him a little bit of leeway.
I think I'm going to go for an ACL tear too for my last pick.
Let's go.
I mean, there's always value to be had somewhere. But my last I don't want to say who my guy is because Jordan's still picking here. I'm going to go with a tight end. I think I need a third tight end at this point.
Oh, you're fine then, because he's just going to go with the wide receiver again.
Yeah,
11
seriously.
wide receivers, insane. He's just timing out at this point. Yep, there we go. Love it.
Why not get 12 at this point? That's really interesting. It's going to be interesting to see which one of these guys, like late round tight ends this year, end up breaking out. Whether it's a Dulcich or it's someone even deeper. Because like we get the arguments for, we probably get someone that writes an article for every tight end 13 through 40 of like their case to be the guy for this year.
Well, the frustrating part about it is like that argument works for every position. Yep. But not always tight ends. Like there's a chance that like you can love 15 different late round tight ends and just none of them break out. Like there's a chance that again, it's just the top 5 guys, 6 guys matter and nobody else matters. We've seen that probably like 4 out of the last 6 years. And that's always my concern with these late round tight ends. I tend to try to grab like a top tier tight end now in fantasy.
Yeah. Or you can just grab an Ertz in the last round, top 5 tight end, like every year of his career that he's healthy.
Brother, he's giving you 0 points this year. The Arizona Cardinals are going to be a shit show. ACL, I don't know. I want no part of that.
Hey, it's the last round of the draft. I think there's potential there. If Kyler gets back late season, everyone else goes down in the entire team. They get rid of Hopkins. They're going to be a dumpster fire.
Yeah. You're not asking for too much. Don't worry.
No.
All right, so we got the full draft board. Wait, can you see this? Oh no, it's in a different tab. Yeah, that's all right. We're bike, baby. All right. Well, that was a full draft. We will be doing this multiple times per week, so make sure you're hopped into the Discord. If you're new to Underdog, use promo code BDGE. They're going to hit you with a 100% deposit match on your first deposit, and we'll throw the links into Discord to draft with us. So hope y'all enjoy that, but we'll be doing a million of them throughout the summer, so we'll have you prepped up and ready for your season-long drafts. Alex, what's going on with you? What are you doing? What are you doing for the draft? What are you doing for, I don't know, the rest of your life? Talk to us.
We'll just be live tweeting everything in the draft as it comes out. We're going to get the videos rolling on TikTok and all the different platforms pretty much every day throughout the off season, starting in May. And then in addition, there's also my own podcast, the Fresh Fantasy Podcast, new episodes every single Tuesday and Friday. Don't forget to check it out. But Nick, appreciate you having me on. It's been a great time to talk to Big Dog Nation.
Hell yeah. And I'll see you out in New York in like a month.
You can't wait.
Let's fucking go. Later, y'all.